Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Alleviate's webinar series. This is Dr. Vikhar with you. When I started off being an anesthesiologist, we used to do landmark-based techniques, and then it developed into the passion and an eye for ultrasound started, and then no doubt it's a wonderful tool. Again, when we have started practicing pain, I have realized that there are also other modalities which have their own benefits. One such is your fluoroscopy. The safety of a procedure and precision can be improved significantly when two modalities can be used together. So that's exactly what my topic for today is. An introduction to hybrid techniques in pain management. This is me, Dr. Bihar Ahmed, consultant pain specialist at Alleviate Pain and Spine Center, Bangalore, a former consultant anesthesiologist, Astra Aadhar Hospital, Kolhapur. This is where my love for ultrasound started, and I used to practice more of orthopedic anesthesia. These are the three centers, and this is our procedure room. Each clinic of ours has a procedure room, from the place where all the magic happens. Before I start off, this is a very apt idiom, phrase by Thomas Berry. The greater the diversity, greater is the perfection. What I have noticed and seen is we always have studies and evidence based on fluoroscopy versus ultrasound. That's how exactly it is. And for a few, this is better for you. For a few, that is better. And let's discuss a little about each, fluoroscopy and ultrasound, a few plus points as well as benefits as well as drawbacks. Fluoroscopy, the benefits: vivid needle placement at any this thing. You can see the needle, tip very clearly. Prevention of any untoward effects, because you can see the vascular spread, drug spread. And laterality, it's going to the right, left, you can confirm it, and the direction of drug spread, as I told earlier. But the major drawback is radiation hazards: cell injury, death, burns, radiation-induced leukemia. Although not many are recognized in our pain field, the procedures which we do pertaining to radiation hazards as such. Now let's discuss about ultrasound. Benefits: real-time imaging. It's you can see the vessel, you can do a dynamic examination, you can it is portable, and mainly no harmful ionizing radiation. One more important point in this is the diagnostic importance of ultrasound. So which mainly for your musculoskeletal, any issues, any conditions, you can always do a diagnostic ultrasound. And the drawbacks is steep or a long learning curve, inability to visualize the intravascular spread, although you can put an axis and all those, but intravascular spread as such, like how it is seen in your fluoroscopy, you cannot appreciate that here. Difficulty in performing neuraxial procedures, ideally for deeper structures. So anything related to the spine we usually go in for, because there is also this acoustic shadows which come, so you cannot appreciate as such anything below the bone. So now this is where we were standing, and this is where exactly we are heading to in my talk. First, let's discuss about the conditions. We'll take one at a time. Procedures and basic practical aspect I will be covering, because most of these are common this thing, and their indication, the contraindication, and all the other details are I'll be just touching upon few other things, but practical oriented hybrid techniques where all we can use, we'll discuss. In that, first is your caudal epidural injection. So these are different shapes of sacral hiatus. So you can actually see a normal, this is a common one, which is an inverted U or V shape. This is a small slit one. This is the sacral hiatus is quite big, and there is a dorsal defect in the sacrum as such. So this is basically the technique by which we actually enter. How it is the hiatus is entered with ultrasound, and later on we follow it up with fluoroscopy. So how do you do it? You actually visualize your sacral, corno and the hiatus, and then you just rotate it 90 degrees, and you can visualize the sacrococcygeal ligament beautifully, and the needle entry. In this, the trick is, when you are visualizing and the needle entry, this should be in a synchrony. If the slit here, your sacral hiatus, is large enough, it doesn't matter. But if it is small, you may be hitting the bone again and again, because you also will be here. You can see me using a toy needle. It will be quite painful for the patient then. So basically, when you are entering, so you have to have a synchrony between, there should be a coordination between your your probe and the needle entry. So once you enter into the, you have crossed the sacrococcygeal ligament and you've entered, beyond this you will not be able to see, because this bone comes in, there's a shadow here, and you'll not be able to see. This is actually the needle. So when you're coming from here itself, in the initial stage, you have to direct your needle. You cannot be like, you come here and direct it, will be a little painful. So you direct it according to, from here only. So even when you're giving a local, what I usually do is, for any of my procedures in ultrasound, use a 26 or 27 gauge local needle which you're using. Give good amount of local. In that only the direction of the needle can be sought. So when you have actually done that, your other Tohi needle actually guides on that, and you get into the, you can get it. The next video is all about that. This is a video in which I'm entering the, sacrococcygeal ligament will be pierced now. You can see it beautifully, and the needle will come till my cursor. Yeah, once it's entered, then there is no point of further continuing with ultrasound. You need to switch over to your fluoroscopy. So this is the typical Christmas tree appearance. The spread, you can see the needle in the midline, and you can progress it to the level you want to. So it's S1, S2, S3. So ideally till S2, S3. Between that you can place your needle, and you can check for this dye spread. And this is in one patient in which I entered, although I was not getting any, we as anesthesiologists are very, this thing of aspirating. So I aspirated, I didn't get anything. But when I have seen that I'm injecting, this is also for the people who just started practicing pain, that, when do you suspect a vascular spread? You actually suspect a vascular spread when you are injecting small amount of the drug, the contrast, and you're unable to see it. It just vanishes. And this is, the same thing happened to me in this. I was giving a little bit, and I couldn't see the drug. So I took a continuous shoot, and this is the beautiful, vascular spread. But definitely I don't want to give any particulate at this area. So what do? You remove it, or you just take it a little back and then reposition it a little further. Again, you see for the spread, and only then will you actually give the drug. This is also a very important topic, sympathetic ganglion, stellate ganglion, lower cervical and upper thoracic, very important. And basically this, you can just see the technique in this. This is actually, let me pause it here. And this actually, I'll just give you a backdrop of what this patient was. This patient was a 39-year-old female patient, come to us with progressed CA breast, non-operable, with a lot of secondaries everywhere, and her most severe pain was her right shoulder and her left shoulder and left upper limb. So this was her concern, and there was a lot of swelling. There was lymphedema in her in her upper limb. So we have gone ahead with stellate ganglion block for this patient, and the needling technique is basically, we are coming from, you can see it from here. Yeah, we are actually coming from lateral to medial, and this, what you can see, is your C6. The anterior tubercle is quite big, and this is your longus colli muscle. This is your carotid. Here you superficially you have got sternocleidomastoid. This is the area for your vagus most of the times. The direction which I'm coming here in this case, you can also have a phrenic nerve, so you need to avoid it as much as possible, and that will be a hypoechoic you need to just avoid the phrenic nerve. And this area is, if I go more lateral, is where our scalene muscles are and our brachial plexus is. So here medially you will find the thyroid, your trachea and esophagus as you go more medially. So in this case, your needle position is very, very important. Don't inject before your needle tip is visualized. So visualization of your needle tip is very important, and you can give it right above the longus coeli. And also a little bit of contrast we have injected, which you can see the dye spread in the next video. In this, you are very close to the vascular areas, thyroid arteries, your carotid, your IJV. So you need to be very careful in the neck. You can see the vascular spread in this. Because we have diluted a lot, you will not be able to appreciate a great deal, but if you compare and see, you can make out this. Next, again, very commonly encountered myofascial pain. Myofascial pain for superficial muscles like your trapezius, your levator scapulae, your scalene. Plain ultrasound only we do at our place. But in cases of deeper muscles, back muscles like your QL, quadratus lumborum, your erector spinae, your psoas muscle, we usually use combined method to, you enter the muscle and you check it with the fluoroscopy. So in this case, this is a very common picture which we as anesthesiologists and pain physicians come together at. You can see the shamrock sign, you can see the 3 leaves. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So basically this is your transverse process. You can also see here lumbar plexus, and this was a volunteer picture, basically not a patient picture. Many a times you will not be able to appreciate a beautiful picture like this. This is your quadratus lumborum. This area is your psoas. Beyond that, your abdominal, your kidney and all those viscera come in, and this is your lumbar plexus. Behind is your erector spinae. This is also an area where you can do your QL blocks. So this patient should be in lateral position. How we basically do is, patient in lateral position, mark the upper edge of your the iliac crest and the lower margins of your rib, and the space is quite less, but that is the area where you scan in. You have to do a little bit of improvising with your probe to actually locate this, and only then can you do it. But this is also done with a curvilinear probe, because this is more of a deep structure. Psoas muscle is quite a large muscle. It has got a superficial and a deep layer. So it starts from your transverse process and it attaches down with your major tendon. It combines with your iliacus muscle, crosses your iliopectineal line, and then attaches to your lesser tuberosity, lesser trochanter actually. Sorry. And this again, you can see the dye spread. You can enter the muscle with you can enter the muscle, and then you can take a fluoroscopic image, which exactly looks like at the level of L3, L4, because it starts way up until L4 level. Quadratus lumborum, again, if a patient presents to us with pain near the PSIS, usually we suspect for SI. Next we see for facet. If not, QL is again one more pain generator which we need to keep in mind, which is a common cause of non-radicular pain, lower back pain increased on sitting. So in this, you can see the needle here again, because and this is the muscle. As I told you, in patient it becomes difficult. Psoas muscle, and in front you can see the movement of the abdominal viscera. So you enter here. Many a times, if the trigger, usually what I do for quadratus lumborum muscle is, sometimes we are not very sure, isn't it? So we do, you can use the acupuncture long needle to actually trigger it, like a dry needling. If it triggers, then you can go ahead with your but many a times, if you have actually caught hold of it and you are doing a proper trigger point injection, it usually suffices, and it is the patient is quite happy with it. This is actually the dye spread, how it looks. Quadratus lumborum, again, it is an irregular muscle. It's quadrilateral, you can see it broad. It originates from the posterior border of the iliac crest and goes up. It also attaches to your transverse process and to the lower margin of your 12th rib. Piriformis muscle, again, it attaches to the lateral border of the sacrum a little anteriorly, and it goes and attaches to your upper margin of your greater trochanter. Scanning technique for this, again, your leg, the patient is in prone position, and common cause, gluteal pains, patient having gluteal pains, you can suspect for this. And there is something called as piriformis syndrome as well, which patient may, because this is in very close proximity with the sciatic nerve, and the pain can be like a pseudosciatica, wherein a patient complains of sort of radicular pain in their leg as well. So this is the needling. You can see the needle here, and you can see it entering, and see that is injected into this is your piriformis muscle. Piriformis spread, of course, this is not my pick. This is it was so beautiful, so I thought it starts from the sacrum and ends, it goes towards your greater trochanter, upper border. This is our pick, but what I've noticed is when you do an ultrasound guided piriformis injection, you go a little more lateral only. And this you can also, if you're going in fluoroscopy, you can do it here. This is the track in which it comes and it attaches to the greater trochanter. Cervical medial branch block. This is the ergonomics. Cervical medial branch block, again, ultrasound plays a very vital role in when you are actually, because it's a very vascular area, and lot of vital structures are there near it, and mainly your vertebral artery is there. So this is the ergonomics. The patient, in this case, I'm targeting the right side, posterior neck pain, facet tenderness, facet loading, all these things, mainly facet tenderness and posterior, and the radiation of pain, all those things do matter. And the patient is in a lateral position here. It is in a left lateral position, and in patients with short neck, it is a little difficult, so you need to rest your hands properly. The scanning has to be done in that way. And one more thing is, you have to start anteriorly. The reason for that is, you will find in the next slide, as you see, you have got this wave pattern. It comes like this, but this wave pattern can also be near your intervertebral disc, also can be appreciated like that. So never do an anterior scan and do a needling there itself. Do an anteriorly. From anteriorly, go little posterior, then you will see your vertebral artery beautifully pulsating, and then further when you go posteriorly, you can see this pattern. So you can see the wave pattern, and these are the facet joints, and you can see a small artery here, which you need to actually target. So if I am doing an ultrasound guided injection in this case, one more thing is, because of the curvature of our C-spine, you will not find all the cervical facets together at one go. So you have to manipulate a little bit with improvise with your probe to get the from top to all the cervical facets in line. And when you do that, for example, if I'm targeting here, in this plane only you enter a needle, and you can actually turn the needle 90 degrees. And what you will be seeing, and this is a fluoroscopic image, what you will be seeing is this image. So this is anterior, this is posterior, you are entering the needle, you have touched the bone is your friend, and basically this is the area of your medial branch also. So the spinal nerve, and then your your medial branch comes out. Here is your vertebral artery. So what you have done is you have started the scanning from somewhere here. You have targeted here, and you have come more behind, so more posteriorly, and the needle position is confirmed. Once you have hit the bone, this will be the fluoroscopic image. Your articular pillar is here and your needle is there. You can do a block, you can do an RF as well. Next, sacroiliac SI joint, very commonly presented to most of our pain clinics, and there is no fixed, even in C-arm, when most of the C-arm guided injections only we all are practicing in this case, but there is no fixed rotation and contralateral oblique we need to give. For the reason is that you can see the different angles of the articular surfaces. You can see here, you can see here, here and here. This is very different, so sometimes the rotation is different, and that is also a reason why entering it can be a little difficult, although they say that periarticular injection also does serve the purpose. But if you are going to do a scanning technique, how will it be? We start off just like how we have kept transversely. We can keep it near the sacral cornu. We can visualize the hiatus area, come little laterally to the end margin, and then go superiorly till the time you actually visualize the ileum coming in, and this will be the area of your needle entry, which you can see here. May not be that very clear, but this you can see is the ileum. This is the joint actually as such. So you will be coming from the opposite side with a curvilinear probe, and you will enter here in this area. Also the foramen will be seen, so it's very important for us to differentiate between both. So a scout scan in any case, again repeatedly doing it is very, very important. Pre-scan is just like we say that you make up putting a needle is easy, but making and opening that area, similarly a scout scan is equally important. So foramen, because you don't want to enter here thinking this is the joint, so you need to open it properly and then only enter. This is Dr. Tushar's video where he's entering. This is the needle, that's the position, and here you can see on Doppler you can see the injected, he's injecting. You can see this is basically the joint. This is the arthrogram. After you have put the needle, you can check it with an arthrogram. You can see if the needle is in place, if the dye spread is there, which is so beautiful in this case. This I was tempted to put. This was again Dr. Tushar's bilateral SI, and it was so beautiful that I was tempted to put although we did it under C-arm, but fluoroscopy, but it was so beautiful, bilateral spread. Again, intercostal nerve block. You can see in this case, you can because the pleura is so close, it is always we can enter the needle under ultrasound, and this was a case of post-herpetic neuralgia. And innermost, basically the intercostal nerve passes at this level 4 to 5 centimeters away from the midline. It enters between the innermost and the pleura, so that is why our target also should be there. So innermost, intercostal, and the pleura in this case. So what you do is, again, needle entry, till the time you don't see the needle tip, kindly don't progress. That is the thumb rule in ultrasound, especially in this area, because you may see till here. Beyond this, your needle tip is not visualized. You will feel that this is your tip, and you actually end up being within your pleura. So that thing has to be taken care of. So you can enter a little below. So the bone is your friend. You can just walk off. What here I'm using is a spinal needle. You can use a 23 gauge spinal needle. You can enter once the bone is hit. This area is also where your vessels will be there. So you need to aspirate properly, give contrast, You see the dye spread all along, delineating the intercostal nerve. Ganglion impar, lowermost sympathetic ganglion, midline, and these are the different techniques which have been used by different people. These are all different techniques. Before, they used to use from below the anococcygeal area, but this is the commonly used area where sacrococcygeal or else intercoccygeal via transdiscal you go. In this case, you have to be careful about the bowel or the rectum, which is anteriorly. So you can enter with an ultrasound guidance. Here you can see, in this case you cannot do an in plane, you need to come out of plane. The needle tip, ideally don't progress it too beyond, because we cannot see anything below the the bone because of the acoustic shadows. This is your ganglion, and you enter and stop there and take a fluoroscopic image. And this is our image only. We have entered with a 26 gauge small needle in, and you can see the dye spread, and this is your bowel, so you are safe. Anterior cruciate ligament, complete tear we cannot do anything, but in cases of partial tear and where it is, determining these two things is very important. What we have noticed is, initially we were depositing it into the joint. It does help, but not to that level. So giving a precise injection into the ACL is very fruitful. And this is a scanning technique which is infrapatellar, and you can see the ACL, and you come out of plane, you enter the ACL. This is at the insertional level. So at the insertion you can give it here, but in cases of origin, like a few cases you get wherein you have partial tears at the origin, so you're not at the, this cannot be targeted with the ultrasound. So that can be done with, and you can see the dye spread also. Actually, a lateral image will give you even more beautiful spread, where you can see delineate, the ACL gets beautifully delineated. Radio frequency ablation is again a very common area where we are using ultrasound and confirming the location of the needle placed. So in this you can see me doing an RF. You can see here the needle comes and the artery is there, and the newer landmarks for the knee RF, and ergonomics again taken care of. A 20 gauge curved RF needle, and this is quite a superficial thing, inferomedial genicular nerve, which we are covering in this case. This was just to show the genicular nerve beautifully pulsating, and the needle, it's coming there. Usually when we are doing a normal RF, what we always concentrate is, we don't do a single lesion. What we do is, you come in, you do a lesion, you do something called as a stack lesion, so that you can cover, because the lesion size is small. So for that reason, we always do stack lesion, meaning 2 to 3 lesions at an area, so that we are able to cover the genicular nerve, because many a times the genicular nerve is not visible, arteries are. This is again, you can confirm it with the knee RF. Your needles are placed, and it can be confirmed in this way with fluoroscopy. This was an interesting case of shoulder RF, shoulder basically cooled radiofrequency ablation, which we did. It was a 68-year-old female patient, me and Dr. Tushar did together. So you can see me inserting the needles here. Basically, this we are covering the patient is a operated CA breast with severe shoulder pain, uncontrolled diabetes, frozen shoulder with old GT fracture. The patient had high pain score, NRS was very high, and patient was unable to lie straight. So we had to do this procedure in lateral position. Because she was operated, radical mastectomy was done, we didn't do the lateral pectoral nerve, because this is a Kulif again. We had, but the anterior pain also was not too much for this patient. We have entered with a 5 centimeter needle, and we have confirmed. Of course, this because we have entered in, we basically do a lesioning only with the probe on. So this is, the needle is gone up, this is the area for your axillary articular branches. And one more thing what we have covered is your suprascapular nerve articular branches. This is where the needle out of plane, you can see it is, you know, just above the periosteum near there. And this is the head and the neck, and the neck area, you can see the lesion beautifully. You can see the lesion beautifully at this area. Hip joint injection again is one area. This is Dr. Tushar's video. So he's entering, you can see the needle and you can see the injected there. Curvilinear probe is used, and this area also, the other thing what you can appreciate is, as I mentioned before, the iliopsoas bursa can be there. So if you just rotate the probe a little, even you can use a normal probe, not a curvilinear also, you can cover that area. So the major tendon can be visualized right below your femoral artery, and it can be diagnosed as well as treated under ultrasound. This is how the dye spread also will be, which you can confirm with fluoroscopy. These are my references. Thank you.